Hey everyone, Scott Parisian here from Script Reader Pro. Today we're going to talk about character. Everything comes down to character. It's my favorite thing to talk about, my favorite thing to work with. So grab your pens, paper, computer, whatever you need. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Screenwriting 101 here. Today we're going to talk about character, all about character. It doesn't matter what genre you are in, what kind of movie you are writing, what you're trying to say. If you don't have characters that are completely compelling, who engage us, who impress us, who create interest in us, we are not going to really care about what happens in your movie. Character is funny because there are so many different ways to come up with great characters. There are plenty of different gurus out there and experts and such who have their own way of doing things. And as a writer, you should have your own way of doing things. I do. The writers I know do. But what you can also do to help get yourself into the mode where character is really going to come to life for you, you'll look at different hacks, different tips that other writers do. I'm not of the school that believes you need to know every single detail about your character and what their favorite color is and what their favorite food is and what they're allergic to. To me, character is defined more by your experiences in life. You look at anybody you know and they have a story. Usually what happens to us in our childhood, in our youth, defines who we become as adults. Depends on the lifestyle you had, the station in life your parents had, whether you had parents, whether a parent died, whether both parents died, whether you were taken from one parent, whether you were in a big custody battle, whether you had a perfect picture postcard family. Whatever happens in your childhood defines who you are. And a lot of people are born into better circumstances than others. And I believe that knowing your character on that core level can really help your character come to life. So here are a few things that you can do to get to know your character, to understand them on that base human level. And some of these tips don't necessarily dictate to things that will show up in your script even, but they will get you to know your character. And whether you're a writer who creates outlines or just goes into the script cold or somewhere in between, knowing your character ahead of time can really help. And there are a couple of things that really do define who your character is and that can really quickly bring them to life for you. There's two things that I do as a screenwriter to make my characters come to life. The first thing that I do is I ask myself, what happened to them that shaped their life? In my life, there is an event when I was 7 years old. And there was a kid in the neighborhood, and he had Down syndrome, and his name was Timmy. And I remember one day coming home from school, behind our houses, there was all this construction, this big apartment that was being built, and there were some bullies from school. And what they did is they tricked Timmy into going into this big, large disposal bin, thinking that there was something in there for him. And once they got him up there and in it, they just laughed and took off. And I remember feeling so bad for this kid, and I couldn't get him out, and I didn't want to leave him there. So I just climbed in that Loris disposal bin with him, and I sat there with him until someone we heard came by and we shouted and someone helped us out and we moved on. But I believe that changed my outlook on life. That created a sense of empathy that came to life in me, and I carried that forward through the rest of my life. And I try to think of an event similar to something like that happened in my character's life. If you can think of that thing, whether it's good or bad, positive, negative, think of what it is that they went through as a child or witnessed as a child that made them have a certain view on life, that created a spark in them about something. Because we've all been children and we've all had something happen in our lives. And I'm sharing that with you to just give you an insight into something that can help shape a character and give something specific about them that allows you to look at that character through that lens and understand how that would dictate all of their choices. Because movies are all about the choices that your characters make. We are there watching these characters make a decision. And you put 10 characters in a row and have them face the same thing, and every one of them, or most of them, should all choose something completely different. They should all have a different reaction. You should know what your characters will do based on who they are. If you don't know who they are, you can't really figure out what it is they would do. And yeah, you can write a backstory of 125 questions you know about them, but if you can think of them as people, not a list, but people, and figure out some of the things they've gone through. Think about what elementary, primary, middle, high school was like for them. What the college experience may or may not have been for them. Think of what's happened to them up to the point you meet them in this story. So that's one thing I always do to try and figure out how my characters are damaged, what that skeleton is, what that secret they may have is, how their soul moves through this world. The other hack or tip that I use, and it always brings characters to life, is I think of a handful of situations. I try and find some really different ones. I don't use the same ones every time, but I put my character or characters, usually one or two or three, in a position, and I force them to act. So whether it's walking into a convenience store and as they are in there, someone comes in to rob the place, what do? Have them on a boat where it dives in the middle of the ocean and the boat starts to fill up with water and there's sharks circling. What do? There's a kid that's lost and they're on the side of the road and they're crying and they don't speak your language and you don't know where to take them and it's getting dark or cold or stormy. What do? Put your characters in situations and just force them to act. And those, again, probably won't end up in your screenplay, but it's writing, right? You're writing, you're creating, you're getting to know your characters. You're doing the homework. Just like with anything that is worthwhile, putting in the work makes it come alive. So put those characters in those situations. Do it once, do it twice, do it 10 times. Think of the craziest situations you can and put them in there. Do it. Someone gives them $1 million and says, you have to spend this in the next 10 minutes. What do? What would they do? Have fun with it, because you will get to know those characters more than you would just writing a list of things that are important about them. Doesn't matter if your character likes carrots or not. Doesn't necessarily matter unless, of course, you're going to have a scene in there where they're forced to eat carrots, right? But other than that, those things don't matter. Real things matter. Think of the people in your life that you know. What can you say about them that not everybody knows? What have they been through that not everybody knows, that you've been trusted enough and blessed enough to know? Those are the types of things you should know about your character. Authenticity is everything. Just like if you go and you watch a singer and they come out and they perform a song, if they're just thinking about the words or if they're just thinking about being on time and they're not losing themselves in that story and telling the story of that song and being authentic about it because they're emotionally in it, it won't work. It's the same thing with a screenplay. Knowing your characters, what makes them human or robotic or alien, whatever it is, but what makes them real. Learn it, embrace it, know it. It'll break your characters out of the cage that they are in on the page, and they will come to life and change you while you are trying to change them. All right? So, character is everything. Think of your favorite characters and think of the things you learned about them over the movie. You look at a movie like Gremlins, for example, and you look at Phoebe Cates' character, and she tells this story, and it's haunting, and it's haunted me since I was a kid. I always think about it come Christmas time, but she tells this story in Gremlins about what happened to her father and where he is, and why Christmas is no good for her. And she tells this story about what her father did and dressing up as Santa Claus and coming down the chimney, and he just didn't show up. Didn't come that morning, didn't come Christmas Eve, didn't come for days after, until they find out that he got stuck in the chimney and he died. That changed her whole life. That one moment, that one memory, that one day of discovery changed the entire course of her life. It changed everything about how she saw the world. It changed her view on Christmas. It changed her view on everything. It changed her. That is great character work. That is something that no other character can touch. No other character has that. It's unique, it's original, it's specific to their life experience and how life becomes for them. That's what you need to do. And if you can do that, everything else falls into place. Character is everything, and there's no such thing as too much character. Not too many characters. There is a problem with too many characters, but never with too much character. You can never have too much great stuff about a character. Now, if 90% of what you have learned about your character doesn't end up on the page, it doesn't matter. That 10% that's there, that came from the other 90%. You will know as you move through what is important, what is not important, what we need to know, what we don't need to know. But when that character has to face a choice, whatever's happened to them in their life up to that point dictates everything they do in that moment. So that's our little blurb on character today. I hope there's a couple of hacks there that you can use for yourself. Feel free to check out our website, scriptreaderpro.com. It has all of our services. You can learn about all of our writers that we have on board, every kind of coverage you can imagine. Feel free to check us out. All right. Subscribe to this video. We've got lots of new things coming. We've got lots of content online already if you haven't checked it out. Feel free to check out some of our other videos here because we are here to help you get better with every page. That's our goal. That's what we want to do. So do the work, put in the time, and until next time, write hard.